thanks everybody for hanging in there. But we've come up at the last speaker of today, and this is Sander Goossens, which is technical director and partner in there, and that's a company that believes in transforming your business through mobility. And one of the things in there does is they develop or they experiment with interesting use cases for Google Glasses in a business environment, and that's actually what Sander is going to do today. Is going to give an overview of those use cases and what they've come up with. Sander.
Let's see. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. As Michael said, I'm Sander Goossens from NDR, and I'm going to tell something about Google Glass, with which we did quite some use cases already. But first, let me briefly introduce NDR. NDR is founded in 2012 by myself and my colleague Bram, but actually we started here at iMinds 1 year earlier, in 2011. At this moment, we are a custom app development company, but we use, like it's said in the slide, we are exploring the boundaries of mobile technologies. We're using new technologies like Google Glass in business environments to actually trigger new ideas and new ways of working within the company. At this moment, we are with 7 people. We have won some awards with our Google Glass solutions. For example, the Telecom Experience Award for Best Wireless On-Site Project, which is quite a long name. Our services exist of three main parts. The mobile application development, which is application development for tablets, smartphones, and wearables such as smart glasses and smart watches. We do mobile enterprise consultancy, so we advise companies in which mobile hardware and software they should use. And we work with the technologies of tomorrow, and that's actually the part I'm going to focus on today. Technologies of tomorrow is a large term and can mean many different things. Some of them are iBeacons, smartwatches, Google Glass, like in the image, all kind of wearables, and many people often call it the Internet of Things. We don't use that term that often, but it's referred to by many people. Now, as I said, I'm going to talk about Google Glass. So first I want to briefly introduce what Google Glass exactly is, which hardware it is, and which software runs on it. Actually, the Google Glass is the same as a smartphone for the hardware. So you have everything like in your smartphone, but of course the form factor is completely different. So the way you interact with your Google Glass is completely different from the way you interact with your smartphone. And the use of the Google Glass is of course different as well. Like Google says it's building around the now. You focus on what are people doing at this moment and their place, the location, and the time. So you really focus on specific information based on time and location. To tell you something more about the hardware, I told you it's mainly a smartphone, but with another form factor. But there are some nice things in it. For example, the Prism. It's the screen of the Google Glass. It's in front of your eye, but thanks to the Prism, you see the screen a few meters away from you. So it's really far away, and it's large, of course. It's larger than the little Prism you see in front of you. Another nice thing is the bone conducting speaker, which means the sound is produced by using your skull as your skull is used to produce the sounds. That are 2 nice things, and of course there's a touchpad to interact with the Google Glass. These are some technical specifications. I'm not going through them, but it's just to show you that it's actually just a smartphone with just an Android operation system, like many smartphones today. Now, as I told you, the interaction with Google Glass is different from a regular smartphone. You can interact with it by movements, so it can wake up if you move your head. You can swipe through your applications, so you can use touch to interact with it, and of course you can use voice. Good to know is that the Google Glass is not standalone, so it's always linked to an iOS or Android device. It's in some cases it might be a disadvantage, but that's how it is nowadays, and it's not sure how it will evolve in the future. So it's something to take in mind. Many people think now, okay, Google Glass, it's just another device to show me notifications. In many cases, that is true, but you can do a lot more with Google Glass than just displaying notifications. Initially, Google presented Google Glass as a new device that users would use while they were walking down the street to give them an update about the weather, to answer their emails. But we don't believe that Google Glass will be purely a consumer product. We believe that it will be used for specific tasks, mainly in business cases. And I will show you, of course, some examples of that later on. Now, maybe first, what do you actually see on a Google Glass? Of course, the interface is completely different compared to a smartphone, but you can, just like with a smartphone, you can call with it, you can get directions with it. It's just another interface. This is, for example, a picture where the directions application is opened, and you actually see it in the upper right corner of your view. So many people think it's Google Glass projects something on top of what I see in front of me, but that's not true. It's actually just a second screen in your upper right corner, and you have to look at it like you do with every other second screen, or like you look at your GPS, for example. Now, the potential of Google Glass, as I already said, they launched it as a consumer device. First, they launched it in the US with a price of $1,500, which is quite a lot. Nowadays, there are still some trouble with hardware. For example, the battery life is not that good, and it gets heated quite quickly. But they were working on solutions, or at least that's what they told us. Since April 2014, they also focus on enterprise tools. And Google calls it Glass at Work. Google statistics show that 50% of people don't use a computer at work. And that's the group of people that they are focusing on with the Google Glass to help these kind of people in their day job, to allow them to work hands-free and yet get information through the Google Glass. And that's also where we come in. We're working with Google within the Glass at Work project, and we've done quite some use cases. That's the third time I tell you this, but now it's the moment to show you actually some of these use cases. We have use cases in manufacturing, media, banking, and logistics. I start with the first one, it's manufacturing. We did proof of concept with Google Glass for a manufacturing company to allow them to give feedback and information for the people on the cutting machines, on the drilling machines, and while producing the products. There's a little video. Let's see. Yeah. The sound does not work, but it's just a background sound, so it's not that bad. So as you could see, first we introduced tablets in the production environment. So every employee still has a tablet. The disadvantage of a tablet is that you still have to show a list of instructions, which is quite helpful, but not that clear. The advantage of the Google Glass is that we can show one instruction at a time and really focus on what they are doing at that exact moment. Let me go back to my presentation. A second example is in the media sector with the Standard. We did a case with the Standard where we brought augmented reality to the printed newspaper with the help of Google Glass. So instead of forcing readers to choose between the digital version or the paper version, they can combine both if they are reading their newspaper on paper, and they have a Google Glass. The Google Glass will detect which article they are reading, and it will present additional information and up-to-date information based on that article. I also have a little video about this case. Again, there is no sound. So that's something we did with the Standard. We have a little demo about this product, but that will be for after this session. So after this session, you can all try the Google Glass and actually see how it works with a newspaper. A third case we did was in the banking sector for BNP Paribas Fortis. I don't have the video with me because I'm not allowed to show you, but I can briefly describe what we did. It's actually a case of the consultancy part we do. They asked us to look into new ways of interacting with our customers. So instead of a customer coming to the bank or the physical location, each time they need something, they want new ways to interact with their customers. Some of the solutions were with Google Glass to give them information. Others were with beacons to give them information based on their location or on the advertisements they walk by on the street, and so on. And it combined actually it was one solution that combined beacons, Google Glass, smartwatches, and so on. But unfortunately, I'm not allowed to show you the video. Last one is a case in logistics, proof of concept we did with Amgen, an American company which is based in Breda as well for their European market. We did a case with order picking, and I'm going to tell you something more about it in the next slides. The application is called Picking Where. Now, what is Picking Where? The challenges we had at Amgen was that the current solutions were slow. There were high error rates. For example, they used voice picking, but it's really difficult to understand everything correctly, what people were saying, and there was always a high cost. What we presented as a solution was a glassware application. That's how applications are called on Google Glass. It's mainly just an Android application, which means it's easy to develop. The cost is a lot less compared to the industrial solutions that run on, for example, some Microsoft Dynamics or something like that. And we can integrate barcode scanning and navigation thanks to the integration with iBeacons. The barcode scanning can also be done with a lot of other devices, but the advantage is that the camera is always in the same always has the same viewpoint of the user. So you don't have to get your smartphone and search the barcode. You just pick up the things you need, and it will automatically detect the barcodes, which is of course a lot easier and a lot faster. And of course, it's integrated with all of their ERP systems as well. Benefits, like I said, the productivity was increased because they can work a lot faster. One of the advantages of using iBeacons is that we don't have to, we can route each person in a different path to prevent two people from picking something at the same place at the same time, because then one of the two always has to wait. It's very lightweight. The Google Glass only weighs 40 grams. Compared to the previous solution, which was a device on their wrist that almost weighed a kilo, which is, of course, a big difference. They were truly hands-free. The device was on their wrist, but of course you notice it, or it's irritating when you have to use it all day. One of the main advantages, as I said, is we use just the Android platform, which is open to every developer and is free for every developer. So the cost was minimized, or was a lot less compared to other solutions. And of course, it's cloud-based, so everything is running in the cloud, which is a great advantage compared to the large server infrastructure they were using before. So that was a brief introduction to our use cases, to what we do with Google Glass. As I said, we will be giving a demo after this session, so feel free to come by and try the Google Glass. If there are questions in the meantime, feel free to ask.
Are you within there going to stick to Google Glass only, or are you looking at smartwatches and the likes as well?
At most customers, we see that the business case is not all about Google Glass, but it's most of the time a combination of different hardware components and different software components. So the idea is to keep promoting Google Glass because it's a new way of working, and it shows a lot of potential, but for most customers it will not be sufficient to only use Google Glass. Other questions? Yeah.
Are there any privacy concerns, like in the consumer market, that employees said, look, you're filming me all the time in my workplace?
There definitely are privacy concerns, especially for consumers. For example, to interact with your Google Glass, you have to talk to it, and other people can listen to what you are saying. That's one of the examples. In a business or in a corporate environment, that's not really an issue because it's always work-related. So we don't really have to deal with that issue, but indeed there are issues related to privacy. Another example is you can film other people without the people noticing it. In San Francisco, someone ended up in the hospital for that reason because they had beaten her up. But as I said, it's not really our concern because we work in a corporate environment.
I can imagine the unions protesting against all the employees being filmed the entire
yeah, indeed. One of the Yeah, I know. And one of the
switch shadows off. Sorry, guys.
First of all, if you are filming with your Google Glass, the battery won't last for long. So within the hour you're done, you have to stop filming. The Google Glass stops filming and shuts down. Another thing is Google does not allow, for example, face recognition and things like that. So it's part of their license that you are not allowed to do face recognition. That does not mean that nobody will do it, but yeah, it's the only way they can cover it.
Talking about glasses, I feel like a drink.
Yeah.
So, any more questions? I suggest we do them downstairs.
Yeah.
We have our catering people waiting.